Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I wanted to go over the Hood. I think the Hood is really misunderstood right now. I've seen a lot of people talk about how the character is like weak, very unimpressive, doesn't really do much compared to other tanks and stuff and other characters. But I believe that those people are misunderstood, or they misunderstand the character. I think a lot of aspects of his kit are misunderstood and overlooked. I think the potential of this character is very high compared to a lot of other characters. I think his numbers seem a little low right now, which,
There
like,
you are.
at a glance, they seem pretty low. Like, when you're close up, you're doing a lot of damage, but when you're like 20 meters away and up, you're not doing that much damage. I mean, you're doing pretty good headshots, but body shots, like if I was hitting body shots here, his damage doesn't seem that impressive. Yeah, like it takes a lot of time to kill from body shots. But this is like at 30 meters, right? So I think at close range, his damage is really impressive. And while like the character doesn't look that impressive in a vacuum compared to other characters right now in the meta, I think he's still very good. I think he's gonna have a really good spot in the meta. So I want to talk about the basics of his kit. First, let's talk about his primary. He has dual pistols like Deadpool. He has 40 bullets. Total, he can reload. You can also headshot, right? As we saw, you can headshot. I'm sorry, by the way, I'm in Europe right now, so there's a lot of delay on the recording device. So, please,
Well, looky here.
please bear with that right now. His passive is the charge in the middle, the 88 charge. He can go to a 100 charge. He's kind of like strange in that you ramp up your damage the higher the charge goes. So you're gonna get charged from doing damage to your pistols. You don't get any from doing melees, and you get some from your abilities, right? So his demon charge, when you're at 50%, you saw he did a faster fire rate, and then when you're at 100 charge, both triggers or both buttons on your mouse to fire.
Ay, bendito.
I've seen a lot of people using one, just to kind of like show that he's weak. You had to use both. Make sure you use both, both triggers and both mouse buttons. So at 50%, it increases the speed. 100%, you change into that half demon state where you have machine guns instead of pistols. The damage in the half demon form. So in this state, you see right here, you get life steal. You get some extra health. This delay isn't as bad. So yeah, you can get up to like 200 extra HP, I think, or is it 100? But yeah, you're gonna be healing a little bit. It's not super impressive, but you're still getting some extra sustain when you get into that form, and I think it's actually pretty impressive because you're gonna be wanting to use that form pretty aggressively, right? So getting a little bit extra sustain lets you play a bit more aggressive than you would in normal form. And keep in mind, you could also cancel the form. You had an option cancel once you hit 50% charge. And let's say you don't want to be in that form anymore, you want to go back to your dual pistols, you can cancel once you hit, I believe, 50%. You can cancel, and you get half of what you have refunded. So if you get 50, you get 25. If you're at 20, you get 10, and so on. But a lot of the times, you probably don't want to cancel it because you get a lot of value from the machine guns. Next, his ability is Void Walk. Void Walk is his main movement tool. It's R1 on my screen. I don't know what it is on M and K because I don't have access to my my PC here. But this is a really good ability. You have invulnerability where you take no damage. You can go vertically, horizontally. It's a 360. You're intangible to all damage, and you're also intangible to CCs, is where you can't be stunned in this form. And as you see, you get 20 charge when you proc it, right? Which is very, very good because this is a way that you can gain your charge pretty fast when you're like using your other abilities on top of that. Like if you're using your veil and stuff and you're hitting your shots, you can get a lot of charge really fast when you're using a movement ability. Additionally, when you're at the half demon form, when you're 100% charge,
Expected better.
you can see the fade is a lot longer. I went a lot further here.
Malas noches.
And you're going a lot faster actually too, I just noticed. So it's actually a lot better when you're at half demon form. But don't hold the cooldown for when you're at half demon form. You just want to use that when you need to.
There you are. Gotta fly.
Yeah, it's a 15-second cooldown, which is pretty long for a movement ability. But, I mean, with how strong it is, I'm not concerned over that. Next, let's talk about his Mantle of Oblivion, which is his L2 or his right-click on M&K. This ability is on a 10-second cooldown, which is, the uptime isn't that high, but the cooldown isn't that high as well, with the amount of value you can get from it. So, when you use this ability, it gets bigger as you go up charge, right? So you're gonna see it's got a lot bigger than when it was lower on. Okay, you see it's a lot smaller when you're at 0 charge. And then you can just go that to 50 charge, you're gonna see it's a lot bigger. It's a bigger AoE. And you also want to make sure when you're in your settings, whether it's controller, MNK, it doesn't really matter, but you want to make sure this is on. Hold to activate, you want that off. You don't want to hold to activate, because if you just press it, it's at the max. You want it as uptime, because you can still shoot in it. It's not like you can't shoot. You can use your abilities out of it. So there's no negative to holding, or there's no positive, I guess I should say, to holding it. Toggling it is, I think, a lot better. When you're in this form, you are immune to all damage, or all projectile damage, I should say. You're still vulnerable to melee damage. And you can still be stunned if it's a melee stun. So I can maybe show some clips of like Emma grab or Thing punch. Those are gonna do damage to you, even though you have this ability, but you're gonna see I'm blocking the damage here. And any damage I absorb is going to translate to demonic energy. So I can get a lot of demonic energy from just popping this when it's a high damage scenario. Also, I block healing. That's the big thing with this ability, is you block enemy healing. So when you're dueling the tanks, you can, duel the tanks, and you pop this on them, and they can't be healed. They can't be healed at all. So you have a free damage burst phase when you pop this ability on top of them, right? And in tandem with the Veil, we're gonna get to in a minute. You can cut off a lot of healing. It's kind of similar to, like, for example, Dino Grab, where you can grab somebody and bubble them off. It's kind of similar, right? Where you can get next to somebody and you just pop this and you do damage while you're in that form. You can't take any projectile damage, right? Time isn't the most, right? But you got to make the most out of it, right? And I think it's a pretty good defensive tool. You can use it offensively as well, so it's very, like, versatile in that aspect. And you have a lot of other abilities to cycle for you to get it back. Additionally, I think you might have saw before, you can't use this ability because it takes 2, as you see here. Because I use both triggers to shoot, you can't use this in Veil. So if I want to Veil, I have to exit. So keep that in mind when you use the ability. You can't use it in your half demon mode. Next ability we talk about is the Veil. So the Veil is, I think, his best ability, or his most important ability for this kit. So you can throw it down, it goes up, and it's going to reduce damage going through it and healing going through it by 36%. So a bit over a third of the damage, right? Oh, whoops. So this ability, right, is going to also increase your charge you gain by 1 per shot. So it's going to give you a lot more charge. You're going to get a lot faster uptime to your demon form when you're popping this. You're also going to give yourself a lot more sustain. When you're in a half demon mode, when you're in this form, when you pop this down, you're going to get a lot more lifesteal. You can see it's a lot faster than it was before. And it was 100, by the way, 100 extra health. I just realized that now. So when you're in your demon form, you do want to try to put this down, because you're going to give yourself a lot of extra sustain, and you're going to give yourself a lot of extra, like, you're going to cut off a lot of healing. So you're going to do a net more damage, right? And if anybody goes through it, they're going to be taking, you can see it right here. I'm going to throw it on the bot right here. They're going to take some damage, and they're going to get blinded. Oh, whoops. They took a little bit of damage, and they're also blinded, like a cloak and dagger blind. So the enemies don't really want to go through it, but if they do go through it, they're gonna get cut off from the damage behind them and the healing behind them. So they're gonna get a lot less healing when they're passing the barrier. This is also on a 10-second cooldown, just like the right click. It starts when the barrier goes down. The uptime is pretty high. Yeah, so it's not bad at all, actually. Because it's up for maybe like 5-6 seconds, and then it's down for 10 seconds. So, and you have a lot of movement abilities, and you could just use your guns to farm some charge while you're play some cover, right? Next, I'm gonna talk about the ultimate. So his ultimate is very simple. So you see how I'm at 390 HP, right? I'm at 390 HP. I'm gonna pop this ult and go to 1000 HP. So it's a full heal. Get 6 shots, and the 6th shot is gonna do 200 damage. It's do a lot more damage than it was in the first 5 shots. And you also get extra health for each shot taken. So it's actually pretty good. A lot of people are saying this ult is bad. This ult is very strong. For a couple of reasons, right? You can look at my HP right now. It's at 600. So it's basically a full heal when you exit. It doesn't matter if you're 1 HP. If you pop your ult you're gonna get full HP regen. It's like a Hulk ult, where you're getting the Berserk state. And keep in mind, if you die in this ult, you're going to die in game, like your whole character is dead. But what you can do is if you're at 1 HP, you can end the transformation, and you're back at full HP. And they can just dash out and stuff, right? So the ultimate's a very good survivability tool. You want to use it a lot of the times for survivability, rather than like, you know, using it as like a way to like kill people. But you can also do a lot of cool things with this. So with the Wanda team up, that's why I think the Wanda team is a lot better than the Moon Knight team up. You're gonna see in a second. But you can do something like this, right? Pretty cool. So I can take a lot of space with this ult, and I could cut off a lot of angles as well. So
there you are.
It's not gonna kill through a lot of support ults. I think a lot of support ults beat it. I know he kills through rocket ult, and then his bullets also have special properties, I should say, as well. So Doctor Strange shield or like Magneto shield or stuff like that, you do damage through it. So it pierces through shields. It doesn't pierce through Groot walls, and it doesn't pierce through bubbles like Hulk bubble and Mag bubble, right? So there's that to keep in mind. It doesn't pierce through bubbles, and it doesn't pierce through Groot walls. And it doesn't pierce through like walls as well. Like I'm not gonna shoot through this wall and hit somebody behind it. So keep that in mind. If somebody plays cover, then you're kind of just stuck there in your ult doing nothing, right? And you also pierce through multiple enemies. So if I pop my ult here, you saw before, I just did damage to all 3 of the bots at the same time. Next, I want to talk about the team-ups. So we have the Wanda team-up, which I think is personally the best one for him. The enhanced version isn't as important, so I think the base is more of like, the important ability to get. So when you use it, it's going to do damage, a damage over time effect, and it's also stacking healing reduction. So they're actually getting less healing if they're staying in the bubble, right? It's going to stack it for each tick. The exact numbers I'll put on the screen. I'm not sure exactly what it is right now, but I'll have it up. And another additional effect to it, as you saw before, I could place it down, and I can teleport to it, which is really cool. It's a really cool movement ability. It's on a 15-second cooldown from the placement of the ability. So when I place the ability, it's going to start a timer, and when I teleport to it, right, it's going to be at about 15 seconds, depending on when I place it, right? So you saw there it was like 14 going to 13 seconds when I teleported. The uptime for the TP is pretty short. It's about like, I would say like 2 to 3 seconds maybe. Because if I don't teleport within this time frame, it just goes away, right? And you have to also keep in mind there's a range to it as well. So let me turn off the cooldown so I can kind of show you that. So this is the maximum range I can really put it at. So it seems like more usable when I put it on like a height, right? I could just kind of like cut through the height like that. It seems a lot further than it would be if I just put it on the ground. And now I have a lot of angles I could take rather than using this ability, which I can use defensively. This ability is really good because there's a lot. It's very versatile, right? It's nothing too special.
It's you and me, Bruja.
So
you want to make a little magic?
Now when you teleport, it adds one effect, or it pulls people in. It's like the strange AOE with not Wanda, Invis. The Invis team up with Doctor Strange. It's the same effect. So I'll show it again. It's gonna pull them in, and it's a lot easier to shoot them, right, and putting them in range. But I don't think it's that important, right? Because I'm teleporting in the bubble anyway, so I'm gonna be like within like a 5-meter range for my max damage anyway. Now here's Khonshu, or not Khonshu, it's Moon Knight's ability. It changes the Veil ability, right? So I don't get a new one, I get a Veil. When I place the Veil, it's gonna be a 200 HP shield, which honestly I don't think is that good because you kind of want to take damage, and you kind of want to reduce the healing. So like having a teleport and another healing reduction and damage ability, I think is way better than just having a shield on it. And then when it breaks, it also explodes. So I could put it right next to him without trying to hit him. Yeah, I'm not going to be hitting him directly, but if he breaks it, you see it's an AoE burst, and they're going to be taking more damage, I think. Or actually, let's just double check. It does damage and applies a damage and healing reduction to enemies, right? The enhanced version is going to add a bouncing effect, which honestly, it's pretty hard to show here because the bots are too far apart. But if I shoot through it, it's as a special effect where it's gonna bounce off of it. It's like a Moon Knight bounce, right? But it's not gonna show here because the bots are too far apart. And then also it goes from 200 HP to 300 HP shielded. So I mean it's a little bit better, but again I think you'll want to team up even in just base is better.
Well,
So that's the basics of the character. Let's talk about how you're supposed to play him and how you want to rotate your cooldowns. When you're farming Demon Charge, right? You want to farm on the front line, so against tanks and whoever's like in front of you, right? And you're gonna be using your wall to mitigate damage you're taking. You could also use it to get more charge as well, right? So your whole goal is to kind of get as much charge as possible to get into this form. So that's step one. Step two is you're going to use your TP once you're at like at least like I would say you're at least like 50% charge. So once you're at 50% charge, you're going to want to, because you're going to have the enhanced guns, right? You're going to want to place either a TP or use your Void Walk ability. So we're going to place the TP, right? I'm going to teleport to it. And now I'm in close range to their back line, and I can shred the squishies from the back, or I could just take an off angle, right? Let's say this is an off angle, I could shoot from here. It's really hard for them to contest me right here, because I can get to my 100 charge really fast, and now I have a lot of sustain while holding this angle, right? And I also have potentially the wall up, or the veil I guess I should say. The veil is up, and if I get contested, right, I have a lot of abilities. So this is step 3. Step 4. If you get like marked by DPS and you need help and you need to back out, you could just use your Void Walk, right? Or you could use your right click to get out. Right? You have a lot of ways to just completely mitigate all damage. And let's just say your Water Team Up is back again, right? You could just teleport back to your team if the Water Team Up is back. Additionally, I like to mention when you're in the back line, you can also choose to ult. You can say, okay, like I could die, or I don't want to die, so I'm just gonna ult, get a full sustain, and I could probably kill a lot of people. And then if you guys are gonna shred my ult, I could just cancel it. I'm back at full HP, and I could keep sustaining my dive even more. So this character has a lot of sustain when it comes to like himself by himself. When it comes to him flanking, right? If he has his cooldowns, I should say. But if he does have his cooldowns, then he's kind of a glass cannon, because there's not really any way for him to mitigate damage besides his cooldowns. Right, all 3 of these cooldowns are his ways to mitigate damage. And I guess his ult as well. The whole goal of this first rotation is to kind of target the backline and off angles, rather than just staying on main. So once you're at 50% charge or more, you're able to really shred squishies at close range. So you're gonna want to use your movement cooldowns to kind of take angles, take aggressive angles. And then if you get stuck, you just get out. You just use your abilities to just reposition, right, and just go back to your team, or play back to cover, or whatever happens, right? So make sure you're using your cooldowns effectively. That's the #1 thing with this character, I would say, is hit your shots and use your cooldowns effectively. Now the second rotation is if the tanks are a major problem, right? Let's say you want to shred the tank. All you do, right, is use the veil to either cut off the healing they receive, right, or reduce the damage they're doing. Depends on what their role is, right? Let's say it's the Thing, right? The Thing is a melee character, so you can't block the damage of the Thing with your right click. You can't block the damage with your left or your veil. Your only damage reduction into the Thing is your Void Walk for you to back up or disengage, right? Which is not very good. But what you can do instead, so let me put in the Thing just to kind of give a better representation of what I'm talking about. Right, let's say the Thing is right here. He's right-clicking me. He's getting 150 shields for every right-click. He's just spamming a lot of damage. So all I really have to do is put a veil behind him, and now he's getting 36% less healing. I can throw this down. He's stacking even more healing reduction, so he can't sustain his dive very much. And then I can do this, and I can take damage, yeah, but I'm also blocking off the healing he's receiving when I use this. So this character is really good at just cutting off healing. That's his main role, I believe. When it comes to frontline tanking, you're really just cutting off a lot of healing to the front line, right? And then if you ever get in trouble, you just use your Void Walk to disengage, and you can also use this ability to sustain your DPS as well. Which honestly, this is not bad damage if you're reducing healing, so keep that in mind. I think it's very important to talk about how the Hood matches up into the meta. Now that I'm talking about the Thing, I think that currently in Season 9.5, he's going to struggle a lot because it's very hostile. I think the meta is very hostile, but at the same time, I think he also benefits from a lot of the meta picks, right? So how does it benefit, and how is he harmed by the meta
There
at
you
the
are.
same time? Well, there's DPS, right? The DPS meta is basically like Elsa, Widow, stuff like that, right? I mean, you have stuff like Black Cat and Daredevil, right? Daredevil, I think you could deal with effectively on the hood. I don't think it's too bad to deal with the Daredevil, but I do think that Black Cat is a big problem for the hood, and I think that Black Cat kind of just gets away with a lot of things if you're playing the hood. But other characters that are in the DPS role, like Bucky, Punisher, Elsa, these are all really strong characters right now. I think he really beats them like hard because you're reducing the damage they're doing by like a large margin with your Veil. You can block the damage with your right click. You can void out and just take like no damage, and you get out of a lot of scenarios. And you have a lot of mobility with this character, right? So a lot of the top characters have like not a lot of ways to deal with the hood in terms of DPS, right? I think supports a lot of the same things because you block a lot of the stuns with your right click if you're able to utilize it well. Even your dash, you can block a lot of CCs and stuff. So if you want to die with a backline,
Well, looky
you're not
here.
like, you know, just gonna insta die if you're using your cooldowns properly, right? But you could also get you might just get stuck and you have to burn a lot of cooldowns, which honestly is fine because like you're pressuring the backline anyway. I think the biggest problem for the hood is the tank lineup. I made a tier list video earlier. I'm gonna link that into the end of the video. I think like a lot of the tanks are the exact same placement. I think Penny is still really strong. I think the Thing is still really strong. I think Magneto is still really strong. Emma's really strong. And this character kind of loses to those characters, right? He loses to Mag. He gets countered by Mag. He gets countered by the Thing. He matches okay into Emma. I think Emma's like a 50-50, but a 50-50 into Emma when a lot of the times they're gonna have a Thing or a Mag is just like not the best because then you're actually in a losing matchup unless you have another tank that's like benefiting from that matchup. So I think tanking with the hood is gonna
Well,
be
looky
hard,
here.
but I don't think he's gonna be unusable. Even though it's like the tanking with him is gonna be like hard in like against other tanks. So why I say that is because he has a really good team up with a lot of good supports. So Jubilee has the infinite team up with the hood,
Screw
where
the
you
light.
can
I'm
get
giving it
infinite
my
marks.
dark side.
You can get infinite marks with the Jubilee, so you're able to uptime your support
fly.
and your healing, and even your DPS a lot more effectively. So if I could show it right here, right? He has the mark, and still has the mark until he dies, right? So if it's like a tank or something, I can farm a lot of this mode, right? I could stay in that mode for a very long time, which makes Jubilee really strong now, I think. And I think the best team up actually is
Didn't know
Cloak
feeling
and
bad
Dagger.
could feel
This
so good.
is insane. Yeah, the hood team up with Cloak and Dagger is insane
Get ready.
because I
Here
can
come the
damage
bad guys.
boost and
Lights out.
debuff the enemy with the same Terror Cape, and then also it's cutting off healing. It's the same thing as the Veil from the hood, where I can cut off the healing and damage going through the Veil, while also giving another effect of whatever it was before, so I can do a damage boost, like the vulnerability debuff and blind, while also giving a damage boost to allies getting hit by it, on both the Void and the
time to
healing
shine.
cape. So I can either give a heal boost, the people behind the thing are going to do lower damage, and like any projectile going through is going to do lower damage and lower healing. Alternatively, I could blind and vulnerability the Galactobot, still reducing the healing and damage going through the Veil behind them, while also giving a damage boost. So this ability, this Veil, with the team up, is absolutely busted. This might be one of the best abilities in the game, right? And paired with the hood, right? If they're both doing the same thing, where they're just both putting their Veils behind the DPS or the tanks or whoever it is, you are getting so much value, and you're going to be reducing a lot of healing. So what I think is going to happen is I think if Cloak and Dagger and the hood is open, or even just the hood and Jubilee, or Cloak and Dagger and Jubilee and the hood,
Find out how much chaos I can
I
cause.
think he is like potentially like an A S tier tank, just because he's a really strong anchor. And even Magic, I didn't even talk about Magic. Magic's team up is really strong right now because the AOE for her ability gets very big. You can cut off a lot of space with the Magic, right? So I believe that the hood is going to see a lot of coordinated play. And also based off of ban lines and comp and pro play and MRC and scrims environment. If the ban line is really good, you can dominate with the hood. Now, in terms of like casual play and looking at him in a vacuum
Well,
in
looky
the meta,
here.
I think like if you're just using the hood by himself, no team ups, I think he's gonna be more on the A or B tier side of the tier list in the meta. He's not gonna be an S tier tank or a best in slot tank. But I think people are really underwhelming him. They're thinking, oh, this character does no damage. He does nothing. He does decent damage. His numbers aren't horrible. Like, they could be a bit better, but like what makes him really strong are his abilities, and that's what people aren't really saying. Like, he's very unique. No other character does this ability, right? You're cutting off damage and healing through a lane, right? Which is kind of insane. You cut off a lot of healing with this ability. You cut off healing with this ability. So when you stack it all together, right? The hood, the thing is taking like he's getting healing nothing. He's getting no healing here, and then like I could literally just cut off all healing entirely while shooting him, which is insane. Like what do you do against that, right? Well, obviously what you do is you melee, right? You can melee him, and melee is kind of the counter to the hood. As you saw, the melee doesn't.
There you are.
This doesn't bypass melee damage and melee stuns. I can still be stunned. I can get grabbed by Emma. I can get grabbed by a lot of things, but I can't be stunned by, for example, Luna Freeze. Can I block the projectile? So all in all, I think the hood is really strong. I think a lot of people misunderstand him. And I think the rotation that I was talking about earlier and how you play the character, I think that's going to be very, very, very important. I'm going to put a list of content creators that I think might be a good way to learn the character faster if anyone wants to learn. Because this is a very early guide. This is like a day one guide. The character just came out, so I can't say for sure like how you're supposed to play him optimally right now. I think what I said was correct in that like you want to get to like 50 to 100 charge and you want to dive the back line, and if you can't, like if you're not able to dive comfortably, use your move ability to get out. Use this form to like really burst squishies and you can sustain your dive, and then you use your healing reduction and damage reduction abilities to just kind of bully the tanks in the front line. So yeah, all in all, I think he's really strong, busted, and I think everyone should enjoy him. I think he's a really strong character, and don't be gaslit by people on Twitter and YouTube and stuff. All right, guys, have a good one.